Lipids. The functions are used for storing energy and it insulates the body. It cushions the body's vital organs. It transports vitamins A, D, K, E, and essential fatty acids. It's an important part of the cell membrane, which is the phospholipid bilayer, raw material for synthesizing products such as bowel hormones, neurotransmitters, and provides satiety. It enhances food taste and aroma. It's also waterproofing qualities. It's two forms of lipids: cholesterol and sex hormones. Lipids without fatty acids are steroids and sterols. Examples are bile, sex hormones, vitamin D, and cholesterol. Cholesterol is found in only animal food, not to be mistaken as saturated fat, which is bad for your heart. The liver manufactures cholesterol at the rate of 800 to 150 milligrams a day. Forms part of the cell membrane, and vitamin D. Precursor for bile is a part of the outer membrane, and chymochrons, part of the brain and nerve cells. To reduce cholesterol, limit red meat intake, eat smaller portions, smallest portion multiple times a day. Sex hormones. People that take these tend to develop mental issues pertaining to aggression and catatonic schizophrenia. Example, estrogen and testosterone. Lipids with fatty acids. Fatty acids are a long chain of carbons, and each is attached to one or two hydrogens. One end is COOH, which is carboxyl. The other end is CH3, which is methyl. Phospholipids. The structural foundation of the cell membrane, which contains a phosphate group and two fatty acids. Hydrophilic is water-loving. Hydrophobic is water-fearing. Number two is waxes made of alcohol plus one fatty acid. The function is to waterproof. Number three is triglycerides, which contains glycerol, one fatty acid, which contains glycerol and one fatty acid. Most common lipid in the body at 95% of all lipids. Functions is to store energy, insulate, protect against shock, reduces impact, provides essential fatty acid, carries fat-soluble vitamins. Taking mineral oil causes vitamin deficiencies because it cannot be digested. 1 portion of fat equals 5 grams. Ground turkey contains more fat. Fat naturally occurs in dairy and meat. Grains plus fruits contain little to no fat. Two kinds of fatty acids, saturated and unsaturated. Saturated, all carbon bonds are single bonds, harmful to the body, solid at room temperature, such as margarine. Examples are stearic acid found in whole milk, cream cheese, fatty meats, coconut, and palms. High intake of saturated fat is associated with heart and artery disease with an increased risk of cancer. Number two is unsaturated, which contains at least one double bond. It's liquid at room temperature, beneficial to health. Example is canola oil. Monounsaturated fat has one double bond between carbons. Polyunsaturated fat has more than one double bond between carbons, like omega-6. Essential unsaturated fatty acids. One is omega-3, which is a double bond. It's located 3 carbons from the methyl end. Example, linolenic acid found in sunflower seed, sunflower, soybeans, canola oil, fish, flaxseed, and walnut. Number 2 is omega-6, which is a double bond. The double bond is located 6 carbons from methyl N. Example is linolenic acid found in your veggie oil, seeds, nuts, grains, sunflower, soybeans, oil, eggs, avocado, canola oil, walnut, and flaxseed. Non-essential unsaturated fatty acid. Number 1, omega-9, which is the first double bond. It's located 9 carbons from the methyl N. Example is oleic acid found in olive oil, canola oil, avocado, and peanut oil. Infants have limited ability to produce these, so they must be delivered from food. Salmon, trout, halibut gives you all the essential unsaturated fat acids, but also provides you with the tools to produce non-essential fatty acids that the body needs. Functions of omega-3 and 6. Form parts of the vital body structure, important role in the immune system, helps form the cell membrane, linolenic acid, 3 elongated long chains of fatty acids called eicosapentaenoic acid, better known as EPA, and docosahexaenoic acid, which is known as DHA, concentrated in cold water fish. All 3 are used to make eicosanoids, which are prostaglandins and prostacyclins, which are blood clotting inhibitors. Functions: regulate blood pressure, childbirth aid, immune responses, inflammatory responses, stomach secretion. 1 tablespoon of polysaturated olive oil per day provides all essential fatty acids. Overuse of supplements, increased bleeding time, interferes with wound healing, raises LDL cholesterol, suppresses immune functions. Rancidity, carbon double bonds are unstable and easily broken, which means oxidized by ultraviolet light, heat, and various oxidizing agents, forming a rancid product, which is a sour taste and bad odor. Companies use hydrogenation of FAs to prevent this. Hydrogenation of FAs are lipids with high content of saturated fat. Fatty acids are more solid, forcing hydrogen into the double bond to solidify it, which is unsaturated fat. Turns into saturated fat. Two products form as a result, which are trans fat and cis fat. Trans fat is the hydrogen added to the opposite side of the double bond. Cis fat is hydrogen added to the same side of the double bond. Digestion and transportation of fat. Triglycerides are a dietary fat comprised of 1 glycerol and 3 fatty acids that cannot be absorbed and must be broken down. Lipase deesterifies triglycerides to glycerol and fatty acids. The bond that attaches glycerol to a fatty acid is ester bond. These can cross into the lymphatic system by way of the lacto, which is lymphatic calipers. The glycerol and 3 fatty acids are re-esterified back into triglycerides. Lipid transport. Lipoproteins are vehicles that transport fat through watery bloodstreams made of phospholipids, proteins, cholesterol, and triglycerides. The type of lipoproteins is climocrons, VLDL, and LDL. Climocrons are the largest and least dense of lipoproteins. They transport diet-deprived lipids from intestines via lymph to the rest of the body. Cells remove glycerol and fatty acids from them as they pass by, become smaller and smaller, and whatever glycerol and fatty acid remains is delivered to the adipose tissue. The phospholipid protein and cholesterol remains a few hours after absorption. The remaining climacron is sent to the liver to be dismantled, recycled, or reused, made by the liver. VLDL, which is a very low density lipoprotein. The liver is the most important lipogenic organ in the body. It can make fat out of protein, the carbs, and alcohol. Transports lipids that are primarily made in the liver. As it travels throughout the body, cell removes triglycerides, causing VLDL to shrink. It increases its density, and it's converted to LDL. Number 3, LDL, low density lipoprotein. Loaded with cholesterol, not good in the bloodstream. Special receptors on liver cells remove LDL from the bloodstream. Saturated fat blocks LDL receptors. Scavenger pathway for cholesterol uptake. Certain white blood cells, which are scavenger cells, attack the high concentration of LDL. Scavenger cells attach the wall of the blood vessels and engulf and digest LDL. Especially oxidated LDL and LDL degraded cholesterol is released. Accumulation of cholesterol results in arteriosclerosis, which are blocked arteries, as LDL cannot be recycled by the liver. Oxidized LDL is especially susceptible to the scavenger cells. Antioxidants offer an agent that stops oxidized products to steal electrons from the body. Vitamin C and E, carotenoids. Number 4, ADL, high density lipoprotein. Liver makes HDL, carry cholesterol from the cells back to the liver for recycling and disposal, which is called reversal transfer of cholesterol by HDL, which prevents oxidation of LDL. The blood serums greater than 600 milligrams reduces the chances of heart disease. Blood serums less than 35 milligrams increases the risk of heart disease. Metabolism, energy acquiring pathways, autotrophs, which are self-feeders and produce their own food. Photosynthetic, use light energy to produce food. Chemosynthetic, which is to extract energy from chemical reactions involving inorganic reactants such as sulfur compounds. Number 2, heterotrophs, feed on other things such as autotrophs, each other, and organic waste. Aerobic respiration requires oxygen. Formula is H6H12O6, which is glucose. 36 ATP molecule of glucose. 4 steps is glycolysis, the link reaction, which is prior to Krebs cycle, electron transport of phosphorylation. Glycolysis occurs in the cytoplasm. Number 1, energy requiring 2 ATPs are used to phosphorylate glucose. When ATP becomes the comes next to glucose. Glucose steals a phosphate. ATP becomes ADP. It happens again. Now the glucose is energized and the phosphorylated are ready for transport to metabolic pathways. Number 2, energy releasing. Glucose goes through the pathways and broken into two molecules and are converted to the 2-NADH by accepting electrons and hydrogen ions. NAD, which is nucleotide electron hydrogen carrier, which is 4 ATP, are produced by only 2 net gain of ATP in glycolysis. 2 pyruvates are the end product. Link reaction, which is prior to Krebs cycle. 1 pyruvate is converted to the acetyl-CoA, and the NAD is converted to the NADH by picking up 2 electrons. A hydrogen and 1 CO2 is released. The Krebs cycle. Acetyl-CoA joins oxyocitrate to form citrate, which is recycled back to the oxyoctate. In this process, 1 ATP, 1 FADH2, and 3 NADHs are made. 2 CO2s are released. The electron transport phosphorylation, NADH and FADH2, gives up electrons to ETC, which is embedded in the inner mitochondrial membrane and dumps hydrogen ions outside of the cell. Passage of electrons to the ETC causes more hydrogen ions to go out. This event results in the formation of concentration, electrical gradient, flow of ions back into the cell through the ATP synthesis results in ATP production. Oxygen accepts this spent electron released from the ETC and combines with hydrogen ions to form water. Oxygen is the final electron acceptor of aerobic respiration, which yields 32 ATP. Anaerobic respiration is no required oxygen. The pyruvate from glycolysis is converted into the molecules other than acetyl-CoA. Lactate fermentation. Certain bacterial as milk and muscle cells have enzymes to convert pyruvate to lactate.